Good morning, loyal podcast viewers. No, uh, listeners. Right. Um, as you may know, if you are a loyal podcast listener and you've been listening to previous episodes, you'll know that I wanted to make yet another episode on the movie Black Panther, which came out in 2018, in the actual year. Um, because I've always just felt a lot of ways about this movie, and I never really, I like I said before, I go back and forth on it. Um, there are good things about it. When recently watching it, I realized there were a lot of good things about it, and I recently watched a YouTube video by FD Signifier on. Well, actually, I watched it on Nebula, but he's a YouTuber. Um, which showed me even more stuff that I didn't realize the first time, um, or second or third or any of my other watches. Um, but I've come to appreciate it a little more, in some ways, because there's even things that I noticed that weren't even in that video. I feel like not only I feel like they put a lot of subtle stuff into the movie that was important, you know. But a lot of times it's so subtle, like you really gotta be looking out for this shit. So I don't know if that's like the fault of mine or like the average moviegoer, or if that's the creators. Um, because if they're trying to sneak stuff in there, I mean, I guess they got to be snuck, you know. So you gotta be looking out for that. Anyway, I was gonna make this whole podcast episode about like uh my different views on it and uh yada yada, but I'm not gonna do that. Um, I will suggest though that you do go and watch Mr. Signifier's video on YouTube or Nebula if you have that. If you don't, it's a nice thing to have. They have this great this isn't an ad, by the way, but they do have this great series on there that I've seen. They do originals. I don't watch a lot of their originals. I don't watch a lot of the content they have. If there's content creators that they have on there that I like, I'll watch them just because I have two Google accounts and one doesn't have YouTube Premium, so ads and what have you, which sucks. Um, so yeah, I'll go to Nebula if like you know, it's, Lindsay Ellis, I guess, uploads a video, and I'm like, oh, I don't want ads, so boom. But then YouTube thinks I didn't watch it. That's the whole thing. Tangent. But yeah, go check his video out. But yeah, they have a series on there called Working Titles where they talk about the creation of different. It used to just be like different TV show titles, but now they've also done like um theme songs, not titles. But now they've also done like video games as well, which I think is pretty cool. Uh, I feel like I had a dream I was making a podcast episode, and I was like researching something on my phone, but then I didn't pause the podcast. So I was just like sitting there in silence for a really long time. Anyway, um, yeah, I'm gonna suggest just go watch this video. Uh, it's good. Formulate your own opinions. Um, I like the movie a little bit better, you know, but I still feel the same about it. That being the end of the day, it's still big old Disney making it. Um, big old Disney, big old Disney's making it, and that's not good. But yeah. So this is gonna actually be about something else. But last point I want to make is right. So that's why I wanted to make it now instead of later. Because this is going to be in conjunction with the Atlanta episode, but Atlanta has not had its final episode yet. Excited for that. And I heard something that just kind of broke my heart. I was on a YouTube, no, I was on a Discord server in a Discord community, and I was like, yo, who watches freaking Atlanta? And they said Atlanta was made for white people. They don't want to watch it because it's got too much white, like, oh, this, this and that. And I was just completely like stunned. I didn't understand because I felt like Atlanta was made for me, people like me. And maybe that's the thing, because in Mr. Signifier's video, he was talking about even just like these different, like, if you're gonna make black media, you have to you can't cater to the entire black audience because we're all just so different. And I feel like Atlanta caters to an audience specifically for someone like me, you know, nerdy black kid from the suburbs. Um, and that's I don't want to make this too much about this, but I remember even in one of Bino's earlier albums, Camp. He has that one line: "Every black you're not black enough is a white you're all the same," right? Um, which is an identity crisis that a lot of black kids go through. I feel like, where it's like, what is black? What is being black? You know, if you don't do this certain thing or act a certain way, then it's like, oh, you're not black or you're not black enough. Um, and maybe that's kind of what Atlanta's going through. People, just because some black people in some black spaces feel like they can't relate to it, it's then white instead of being like, okay, maybe some black people can relate to this. Um, I don't know. I'd have to watch. I gotta watch more black media. I've kind of been slacking, like, cause even I feel a little hypocritical saying all this because I still haven't seen a single full episode of Blackish or Mixedish one of them? Grownish. Um, Dear White People. My sister watched that, so I've seen like bits and pieces of it. Um, I haven't seen any of these shows because even though they are starring black people and such, I know what the ish series is. I don't know about Dear White People. I don't know if that falls into this category, but they definitely seem like they're placating white audiences in some way, shape, or form. Um, no, I don't know. I'd have to actually sit down and watch them for myself. But that's just always. I feel like I saw like the first episode of Blackish. Um, but yeah, I've just always been like, no, I don't want it. No thanks. Even just how it's shot, like it's got like that, that same old tired sitcom look to it. Um, but Atlanta just doesn't feel that way to me, and it's insane that people think that. It's like this show is like mega. It's ultra black. Um, but I digress. The bird talking about something else today. Uh, which is actually I still haven't said what I was gonna say. Sorry, these tangents and such. Um, I wanted to talk about it now because uh, new Atlanta, sorry, the new Black Panther is coming out this weekend. And before I was like, oh, should we even go see it? And here are my conclusive thoughts on that. Yeah, go see it. Um, break the. I don't know if I'm gonna say break the fucking box offices like we did last time, but definitely give it a shot considering how much the first one was not completely for the culture, but it was definitely for the culture in a lot of ways. Um, Unlike any other movie at the time, especially within Marvel. I feel like people are paying to see Disney shit all the time. If not in theaters, it's Disney Plus. You know, um, and it's like, okay, if you're gonna see Disney, which is inescapable at this point, yeah, go see Black Disney. Um, and we have to speak with our wallets in some way, right? So if that's saying, hey, we're gonna go see stuff if it's made by black people and you're putting black people in it, all right. I mean, that's not a terrible message to give. Um, it's still not a great. I still don't love it. But if you're asking for my recommendation, I probably won't go out to see it day one. I'll probably I don't know. What am I even doing this weekend? I might I might go see it. Uh, but yeah, one thing that I neglected to talk about in my first and second Black Panther reviews was like how much how much of an effect it had on like the black communities. I don't like saying we're all one community. Um, and I feel like that sometimes is more important than the other things that I bring importance to. So that's all my thoughts. If you're waiting for me, which I doubt you were, but if you're waiting for me to know if you should go see it or not, um, my conclusive answer on that is give it a chance. Um, who knows? All right, now on to the actual thing we're going to talk about today. The new God of War just came out yesterday. It was. And God of War is was originally a game about a Spartan, and still is, but he's no longer in Greece. He's no longer in Sparta. He killed all of the Olympians. He's now in Norse mythology land, Midgard, and all that. So not many black people to be heard of, but and this I'm bringing this up just because I'm playing the game Ragnarok. It's good. I like it. I enjoy it. But the voice actor for our dear old dad Kratos is a black guy. Um, I don't know if it's been the same voice actor from Jump or if just for the reboot. I don't know. Um, but yeah, he's a black guy, old gruff. Get in the boat, boy. Like, yeah, that's a black dude. Um, and it kind of got me wondering a little bit. Um, we have another instance of this in Mr. Darth Darth Vader, uh, white guy voiced by a black dude. Um, and I don't know if there's something to that, like people of different races voicing people of other races. Like, is that something that should be thought about? I mean, I don't really know. I haven't given it much thought. It's kind of just something that came up that I wanted to pose the question about. And it's crazy because I know it's not really enough for a full podcast episode. It's more of just posing a discussion that I might want to have later. So I guess this is kind of just an update episode, but also like the Black Panther stuff and all that. Um, but I wonder if it works both ways. Racism doesn't work both ways because we look at systemic issues and that sort of thing. Bigotry does. It's a different story. But um, does it work the same for like something like voice acting? Um, I don't think people blink an eye when a black person voices what is supposed to be a white person. But is it the same when a white person voices what's supposed to be a black person? Or maybe it only matters once it gets like racist, like the crows in Dumbo. Um, but would we want black people voicing those crows anyway? I don't know. And then I kind of think a little forward to a game I've been hyped about coming out. They just finished their second alpha a little while back. I think it's is it pronounced Wagadu Chronicles. Um, there's like a RPG game with completely Afrocentric, um, which is great, right? For pan, the diaspora for Black people. But on the other hand, there's like this part of it that's been kind of nagging me, which is like, um, white people are going to be playing this game, and I don't know. I mean, I don't have anything against that. I don't think, but it's weird. Is it not weird for people of different races to like role play in this fantasy world as Black people and like fill these fantasies they may have? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not as weird as I'm making it out to be, but like, how many white people wish they were Black? And it's like, oh, I'm in this fairy tale role playing world where I can be Black. I don't know. It seems strange to me. Maybe it isn't. Um, I don't know. I haven't given it much thought yet. It's been kind of just sitting there, but I feel like okay, because I often have this aversion to like the I don't have anything against interracial relationships inherently, but a lot of times when I see like black and white couples on TV and such and like online and that sort of thing, what always comes to the forefront of my mind is the history behind it. Um, being as we are, our ancestors returned, and the trauma of the past generations lives on within us, passed down through DNA, et cetera, right? Um, it's hard for me to separate um, what happened in the past, during chattel slavery in the United States. Um, so I get a little icky. Um, which, I'm trying to work through that. I don't try to look at people differently based on their skin and, bigotry and that sort of thing. Um, but I feel it less so in fantasy settings. Like, the Rings of Power just came out and they have a completely different history. So sure, it's black actors. Same for House of Dragon, which I watched. I don't think I told you guys I watched that. I wasn't gonna, but then I did, and I liked it. Another instance of where, and this one the creator is actually involved. So, but another instance where the original story has well, little to no black people, but then in the live action remake, hey, let's make this family, let's make the Valerons black. George R. R. Martin signed off on that. Um, it's plausible considering um, Valeria's history. Um, I enjoyed the first season, by the way. Excited for the second one. It sucks. It's gonna be like 2+ years out. Rings of Power, by the way. They're trying to get their second season out like as fast as possible. So who knows? We might see that next year. Um, but yeah, there was a point. I lost the point. I went on tangent, then like another tangent, and then oh yeah, fantasy. Um, so yeah, in those instances, it doesn't bother me as much. Like still kind of seeing the imagery of like oh, old ass white dude getting married to this like what 13-year-old black girl, or her parents setting her up to get married to this other old white dude as she's like 8 or some shit. That's hard to see, sure. But you can kind of, you're able to suspend your disbelief, being that it's a fantasy world and a fantasy setting, and that history is not still there. Um, but in the case of this game, the Wagadu Chronicles, or however you pronounce that, um, even though our history isn't there, and it's like this fantasy setting, it still pulls so much from our history, like from African spirituality and this kind of thing. So like it feels odd to have like different people like Is it okay for a white person to cosplay as a black person? To roleplay as a black person? To a certain extent, right? Like if they don't use blackface, then right, it's probably cool, right? Maybe. I mean, maybe some people would think oddly about it, but I don't know. Becky has like a black afro wig, and she's like role playing as, I don't know, fucking Naomi from the Matrix. People would probably look at that odd, right? I don't know. But in the virtual world, it's different. Um, I don't have answers for these questions I pose, but I do pose them. Uh, if you want to see me playing God of War, you can do that on YouTube. I think I'm at Cosmobi, Cosmobi. Am I? No, Beano Juice is a different. Those are, if you're trying to find me online, you can probably find me one of those names, Cosmobi or Bemo Juice. Bemo Juice is a little more frequently used. But I think that's it. Just had some questions to pose about um, race role playing online, uh, whether intentional or not. Um, because it's like in this game you can only be black. I don't think there's any other options. Um, yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I pray that again, I've done so many of these. I feel like I'm gonna just start repeating them. Um, but hey, maybe someone doesn't listen to every single episode, so they get something that they hadn't previously. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Thank you for that. So I hope you don't get any random aches or pains or sores, and if you do, they go away promptly and they're not that serious. Because that sucks. You wake up one day, it's like, oh my god, my back or my knee, and then it's just hurting for days, and you don't know why. And it's, I hope that doesn't happen to you. I pray that if any uh, bruises or sores come to you, they are dispelled quickly. That's all I got. Thanks for checking in. I'll see you guys in the next one. I keep saying I'll see you, and you know that's not true, but it's how you end the thing. You get it. You get it. Bye.